What did you measure, Najma? What did you measure, Najma?
We measured a tree.
Okay, and what did we find out about the tree?
And then behind the tree, we measured beside the.
Do you remember what it was, Natalia, that you measured?
They have it written
Oh.
down.
The step.
Step.
You measured the steps? And
Yeah.
oh, did we measure steps? Was it steps?
No, they measured.
Or was it so many steps, I think?
Yeah, so they measured that half circle,
Oh, okay.
and that's how many steps it was, and then they measured the light.
And what did you use to measure the light?
We measured in the light. We did this.
Yeah.
They kind of touched their hand, and then we draw it, and then it said 6.
Okay. Ricardo, I hope you were listening to that one.
Can I go to the
Quickly. When people were measuring, who else did it where they touched either their hands or feet to each other? Who remembered to do the touching? Why is it important to make sure that our hands or feet are touching when we're measuring something? Instead of me going like 1, 2, 3. Why is it better for me to go like this? Which is what I was trying to do outside. Aiden?
Because then you won't miss any measuring stuff.
Because
you just skip some measurings.
so if we're measuring with our hands then, when I put one hand down, what should I make sure to put down next?
Your other hand.
And where should I put the other hand?
in front.
Right. Should I put it over top?
No.
No. But I should make sure that it's touching to make sure that I'm really accurate with my measurement. Because we don't usually measure with hands and feet, do we? What do you usually measure with? If you were measuring something or your parents were measuring something at home, what might they choose to measure with instead?
A measuring tape.
Is there anything else people might choose to measure with?
Measuring stick.
Okay, like a meter stick like this one. Is there anything else that they might choose to measure with?
They would measure with blocks.
Would you at home usually put blocks out?
Yeah.
If I was measuring, like for instance, I need a new stove. The bottom part of my stove isn't working anymore. I need to replace it. So if I need a new stove, and I'm going to go to Home Depot to buy a stove, okay? Would I take a bunch of blocks to measure how wide my stove is?
No, yes.
What do you think?
No, yes.
Raise your hand if you think yes. Okay? Raise your hand if you would use something other than blocks to measure how wide the stove is. Natalia, what would you use?
I would use block.
What?
Block.
You would use rocks? Okay? Who else might use something different?
I would use measuring
Why would you use a measuring tape and not rocks or blocks?
because they have numbers.
Okay, and why are those numbers important if I were going to Home Depot to order a stove?
Because then you know how wide it is.
Is the person at Home Depot going to know what 13 rocks means? Are they going to know that? If I said I need a stove that's 13 rocks wide, Jean, is the person at Home Depot going to know what that means? But if I said I need a stove that's 30 centimeters, will the person at Home Depot know what that means?
Yeah.
And then they'll be able to get the stove for me. So usually standard measurement helps us out because people understand it. Other people found things out too as they were measuring with their feet. Mariana's group was measuring with their feet. Who else was in Mariana's group? Okay, but when you were measuring with your feet, were all of your feet the same size?
No.
So if they weren't the same size, Dana, how was that a problem?
Because if they're too small, too big, we won't know. And if we go like in a group like this,
Yeah?
I need one of my group one to help.
Like, Dewan? So Dewan, stand up for a minute. Yeah? What was the problem?
Because we go like
Yeah, and why is that a problem? She's doing it too.
Well, if our feet touch like that,
Yeah.
we won't know, and we'll lose them like this.
Well, Dana, come here for a minute. Come right up front so everyone can see. So you started, no, turn around that way so you're looking in here. You started, you took 1 foot. So take a step. Dewan was behind you and she took a step. What's the difference between Dewan's step and Dana's step?
The one step is littler and the other step is bigger.
And why is that a problem?
Because she might be missing some stuff.
Well, they're going to count. So they counted, say they counted it's 30
One.
steps,
2 like this.
right?
3,
Say they counted it's 30 steps.
5.
So Dana, just stop for a minute. If they count that it's 30 steps, why does it matter if Dewan's is smaller and Dana's is bigger?
Because if her feet are smaller and mine are bigger, well, we're on one of our feet and then when we do it like that, if we find it like this,
Yeah?
it'll be easier, but my hands are too big and her hands are too small. Maybe you'll need to use her sister's hands with her other sister, and we can make it.
Okay, except her hands are a different size than her hands, which are a different size than your hands. So they're not all exactly the same. You managed to all take steps and no one tripped on each other. But why is it not a good idea to have like 2 people with different sized feet working together to measure with feet across?
Because
Think for a minute. Why is it not a good idea that if they're going to measure, say, the size of this carpet, and Dana's feet are one size and Dewan's feet are another, why is it not a good idea for them to work together to measure the size of the carpet with their steps? Yeah. Oh, yeah, no problem. Why is it not a good idea? If Dana's taking a step and I'm taking a step and Dewan is taking a step, why is it not a good idea for us to walk together? We can manage to make sure we don't trip. But why is it a problem when we're measuring something and we all have different sized feet?
the other hand, because we're not the same hand. You have to go over and you're not even the same hand.
So if they're not the same though, so if they don't have the same hands, or Jordan, they don't have the same feet, why is that a problem? Because we managed to walk here without tripping on each other. But why is it a problem when we're measuring something?
Well, if my feet are 5 and if her feet are like about 3, we would if her was like walking that way, I would walk all the way this way. We'll trip into each other when we get into the center.
But Dana, nobody tripped. But why is it still a problem for people with different size, say hands or feet, to measure together? Aiden?
Because then you can't measure right because one's bigger and one's smaller.
So if they decide together that they're 30, her feet are not the same size as her feet. So it doesn't really give us a very good, accurate measurement, does it? So instead, what should they do? Instead of measuring together and taking steps,
We can go with a different person who has the same feet, and then we can walk with each other.
and if you don't have people with the same size feet, how would we measure that would give us a more accurate one than the 2 of them working together to measure? What would be better?